watching Charter's Local Edition. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Brad Pomerantz, and our guest is Professor Ellen Wartella. She is with the University of California at Riverside, and you are an expert in an area near and dear to my heart. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. They love watching television, and you're looking at the media's influence on children's development. What are you finding?
Well, the media are quite influential, is what we find.
Yes.
I think the most important thing for parents, what we need to tell parents, is that you should watch the amount of time that your children spend in front of the screen media. American Academy of Pediatrics recommends about 2 hours a day for kids over 2.
And that means media is television,
right?
Is internet,
computers, that's right.
Video games,
that's right.
So 2 hours total.
Of screen media.
That seems actually high to me.
Well, on average, children spend more time than that. They spend over 2.5, 3 hours.
To me, that's unacceptable.
Children under 6.
It's
I
just
agree.
Unacceptable.
It's a lot of time.
But I can tell you, as the father of a 5- and a 7-year-old, it's quite a challenge.
It is a challenge. The other thing that you need to do is watch what they watch, too, and to make sure that the content is appropriate for them. I'm a firm believer of the school that says it's not just the amount of time that you spend, it's what you're watching that matters.
Why is it, though, that we see this epidemic in children obesity? And a lot of it is pointed to television.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was growing up, you know, there were some chubby kids, but not like today.
Right. I'll maybe give some statistics. In the 60s, about 5% of children between 6 and 19 were considered obese. By the early 2000s, that number had jumped to 16%, and another 15% are at risk for being obese. The Institute of Medicine of the National Academy of Sciences in 2006 did an analysis of the relationship between food marketing and childhood obesity. And that is absolutely the key. They found indeed that children's exposure to television advertising for kids under 12 was both related to their food preferences, their food choices, their diets, and most important, to adiposity, which is another word for fatness.
And what's interesting is, I mean, my girls watch the Disney Channel, which is essentially commercial-free. Right. But if you watch other programming targeted to children that do have advertisements, it's always these kind of high-calorie, low-nutrition food choices.
That's exactly right. If we were marketing apples and vegetables, we'd have a lot fewer problems. The fact is, the kind of foods that's marketed to children are exactly what you said. They're high-calorie, low-nutrient, full of fat and sugar, and it's really causing havoc on our children's diets.
I recently interviewed Sabrina Bryan, who's one of the Cheetah Girls, and she's gotten involved in an organization called the Alliance for a Healthier Generation that's focusing on keeping kids active and making healthier choices. What do you think about celebrities getting involved and trying to send those positive messages?
I think that's terrific. You know, if diet and weight is a function of both what you take in, the foods you eat, and what kind of energy you expend. And to the extent that we get kids up and moving, we get them walking, we get them playing. It's a shame that schools don't have gyms anymore, and they don't have recess, because that really helped. So I'm very much encouraging of that.
And I was telling Sabrina that one of the reasons I enjoyed her series of films, the Cheetah Girls, is when my girls watch it, they're dancing.
Right.
So at least they're moving.
Right.
Professor, if you were to offer our parents who are watching right now some tips about interacting with the media and their children, what would you offer?
Well, first of all, to pay attention to what kind of media your children are tending to. For really young children under the age of 6, again, limit screen time to at least 2 hours a day. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends no child under 2 in front of a screen.
Wow.
That sounds a little harsh, I know, for some parents. That's right, particularly with baby media. But watch how much time they're spending, and watch what they watch. Make sure it's age appropriate.
Professor, thank you so much for joining us. Such important and valuable information.
Nice to be here.
For Charter's Local Edition, I'm Brad Pomerantz.